Greetings! I am Fire Lotus, and welcome back to another live Witches Chat in Lotus Hollow. So, this is actually going to be a very, very interesting conversation, and I am going to wait until we get some people coming in because, I am finally being able to do an experiment that is actually really interesting. But before I get to that, let's go over some things. So, hi, hello. I am Fire Lotus, if you did not know that already. Hi. Um, I've been doing this for about 3 to 4 years now. I also offer custom oracle readings and custom spell work. Just direct message me on my Facebook page and or my Instagram. We also have a Discord, Lotus Hollow, that will be in the link tree, which will be with this video when it goes live. On top of that, we have a podcast. Merry Meet, it's great to see you too. We have a podcast, Fire Lotus the Witch. I will be getting episodes out very soon. We have the Instagram, Fire Lotus the Witch, and Fire Lotus the Witch podcast, and then, of course, my TikToks, Fire Lotus the Witch and Fire Lotus the Witch 2.0, and that is what the conversation is going to be in. So, I kind of talked about this yesterday, but, like, after our live, I came up with an idea, because if you watch me on TikTok, or if you've watched any of these videos, or seen any of my lives, I'm I try to do most of my content in an educational way. And due to Trisha Paytas, whether she's actually involved in this or whatever, whether she's just doing her personality thing or she's actually involved or actually interested in witchcraft, we will never know. But it started this huge conversation and a lot of drama has come out of it, which is all you have to do magic is set your intentions and that's it. So, I did a video yesterday, which is what I absolutely love about you. Oh, thank you. I try my best. So I did a video yesterday and I was like, all right, you know what? We're going to put this to the test. So I did a video and I was like, I'm setting my intentions. That is it, to get $100 today by the end of 12 a.m., right? I got 25 of that. I was $75 short. So today, because I'm an experimentist, today, I woke up this morning. Let me see if I can get this without it falling. I woke up this morning and created this lovely thing. That is green calcite. We have emerald. I got my little Buddha. This has been blessed with oil, a few herbs, and it was also carved into. And I also have a magnet there. So, and then something very, very cute and adorable, which I'm starting to get obsessed with, which is this little guy. It's a little jade wolf. But anyways, so same thing goes for today. From the moment that I woke up this morning and lit this candle, by the way, all my candle work, if you ever come to me for a spell, just know that it is not those instantly burning ones. They're emergency candles, which means they burn for a full 5 to 6 hours. I've had 2 of them burn for 9 hours. But with that, I was like, all right, so we're going to do the experiment again. Yesterday, I just set my intention that I would get $100. Today, I set my intention that I would get $100 in business, whether that's readings, whether that's custom spell work, and that's running all the way until 12 a.m. today. And we're going to see how it turns out. Because a lot of people, when it comes to like conversations, like, do not get me wrong, there are a lot of great practitioners on that app that will legit have a conversation. Not argumentative, but we have to have conversations like this. Hello! We have to have conversations like this in order for us to advance. And I'm the type of person, if you ask me something and I have to think on it, I love it. That's one of the reasons I love doing these lives, is because you get a bunch of cool people together and a lot of things can happen. One of the theories that I'm also working on right now is, and I actually kind of had disagreed with this, so there's this running theory that some of the sounds that you hear on TikTok are egregores. Now, I'm still new to the whole egregore thing. I've done it before, but not that much. So I actually looked up the definition. An egregore, from what we understand, it is a non-collective, non-physical being that is created through a collected group of consciousness, right? So screw the songs, whether they are or not. Something else has been happening that I've been seeing a lot of, which are people are referring to 2022 as an entity. Like, it understands that it took Betty White. It understands that the whole virus thing is going fucking everywhere, right? But with this one, Did you say not just sounds, but the mantras too? Mantras are different. Now, mantras are not egregores, but mantras were specifically created for manifestation. Um, and I'll have to actually look more into mantras before I fully do like a video on it. I have used mantras before. There are two of them that I've used here on YouTube. One, I'm gonna butcher this, but I'll post them in the comments after this goes live. It's Shreem Brazim. That is a great one, especially if like you work as like a DoorDasher or a delivery person where you get tips. Listen to that song throughout the day. If you have a store, like an Etsy store, when you get up in the morning time, have that song playing for at least 30 minutes. And it actually does work 1,000%. Now, there's another one that you have to be extremely careful with because it invokes Ganache, which is the obstacle removers. Wouldn't 22 thing be an egregore on its own? Exactly. I'm gonna get to that. Listen to this. I blew my own mind after I thought of this. But there's another mantra, and it is Ganache, and I'll have it done. It's a wish mantra. Be very careful with that one if you do it, because it triggered a 3-year spiritual awakening where my entire life fell apart, came back together, blew up, came back together, and eventually I'm here now. But with the wish one, you actually sit down with a piece of paper and you make a list of things that you want to manifest, of how you want your life to go. And then you just listen to that song. I was listening to that song, but me and my partner had gotten into a heated debate due to stress and our stupid job that we were working at. And I was just like, because I'm one of those people, if I get into a stressful situation, I'll kind of reflect back on gooder moments. 369 manifestation. Yes, I love that too. I've actually tried that theory, where you do it 369. But I was like, I miss my family. I miss Alabama. A week later, I was forced into a situation to where we had to take a break, and I had to move back to Alabama to take care of my grandmother. Holy shit, was that around? Wild ride. And it's also a perfect thing that it is not always greener on the other side, because holy shit, that was a eye-opener. But with 2022, yes, they're turning it into an egregore. And the reason that is because some of these videos that are creators that have like millions and thousands and billions of followers, they keep basically saying and acting like it is an actual entity. So they're turning, or we are turning 2022 into an actual very, very powerful egregore. Now, something else, and the reason I called this episode Magic Theory is because I'm about to tie something else into it of why certain symbols worldwide in all different types of religions have so much power, which is the cross and or the crucifix. For one, a lot of practitioners don't really talk about it. It's also been represented in witchcraft as the 4 equal armed cross. Earth, air, fire, and water. Correct? Okay. Now, when you hear exorcisms and stuff like that, what do they always say? Before you hold this symbol up, you have to have power in it. And Practical Magic did the same thing. Because in Practical Magic, he held up his badge. And what did they say? They're like, this doesn't stop bad guys in its tracks. No, you yourself have the power to it. It's the belief that you have behind the symbol. How do you feed egregores? I remember you said it needed to be fed. It actually kind of depends on how they created it. You could feed it by giving it an egg, anointing it with oil, burning a candle, blood, cat food, dog food, candy. It all depends on the actual creation of it. But if we're talking about 2020, how that is every single time somebody makes a video addressing 2020 took somebody out, or 2020 starting off on a bad note, that in itself is feeding it because you're giving it conscious energy. You are recognizing that it is a conscious being and you're feeding into that, whether that's fear, whether that's anxiety, whether that's stress, all of it. And it blows my mind because Christianity across, that's one of the reasons that that cross has so much power behind it. But I could hold it up to, we're going to say a demon as in the Christian aspect, right? I could hold that crucifix up and it probably wouldn't do anything for me. Like my partner or my father-in-law would hold it up and it would work. But see, all the symbols that I wear, especially this one, this one, this one, and this one, because on the back of this, it has protected symbols, and it is the Norse compass, right? This is also mine and my partner's engagement ring. Instead of a ring, we got a necklace. Hello. But if I were to hold one of these up to the negative entity that I'm trying to like banish, it would work because I have more faith in these symbols versus the cross. And that's how it works, because the cross was not just used in Christianity. It's been around before then. And what it was they had so many people believing in them. And there's actually there's a few movies to where like the gods come back, and because they're weaker, because what? People stop believing in them. Now we're seeing a recirculation of that, especially in the past 2 years, because more people are waking up to the older ones. Now, falling down a rabbit hole, I also learned that what people refer to as the old ones were actually the angels that were are earthbound from that aspect, which also led to another interesting question, which, why is it always Christianity linked to a lot of things? My theory behind that is because Christianity, we're going to say, shared and or stole a lot of other aspects, because when the Christians started spanning out over the world, it's the same thing with Santa Maria. I have a cross with a pentagram along with my almonds. Oh, I love that. And same. I have one, it was my third pentagram, and I need to start wearing it more. It's not really a cross, but it's a sword. And in the middle of it, it has the pentagram, and then the actual sword itself is the fleur de lis, which is one of my all-time favorite symbols, like ever, which has also been linked to Hecate. And it's also linked as to lotuses. But they kind of, with Santa Maria, I believe it's Santa Maria, when, same thing with some part and aspects of voodoo, when they came over here, they realized that they were not allowed, or it would be very, very hard for them to work with the energies that they work with as the visual representation of that. So what did they do? They learned that they could mask the energy they're working for with some of the saints out of the Catholic Church. So that's why in some magical practices you see a lot of Catholic statues and saint or talks about saints. It's because they're not necessarily talking about the saint that's in the Bible. They're talking about what they had to mask so they could actually do their practices. That's one of the reasons when it comes to working with deities, yeah, if you can get like one of the giant statues or bronze statues, more for you. But with me, I would encourage you to make one out of polymer clay using crystals. For one, everybody is going to experience deities differently. Yes, true enough, we have a persona of what we know they are, but when they present themselves, because Artemis has presented itself to me, and it presented itself in a very, very tall, very, very handsome man with glowing blue eyes. And last time I checked, Artemis was a female. Yeah. But with that, though, we have to think about the power of belief. Now, this is going to tie back into manifestation and intentions. Intentions are important, especially when doing actual rituals and or spell work. The reason that is because if you light a candle and you're trying to do a spell, if your thought process is not straight, that spell may not work out. Setting your intentions, though, is basically like tying something to that spell. It's basically stating, hey, this is the reason I am burning this candle. This is what I want to happen. And then you going about getting the crystals, getting the herbs, getting the oils, anointing the candles, or doing whatever you're doing, that's showing the universe that you're trying to meet it halfway. A lot of people are under the consumption that magic is just you do whatever the fuck you want. No. I mean, yes and no. Every spell that you do, you have to do some type of footwork. And I've always said this when it comes to job spells, relationship spells, or money spells. If you do one of these spells and then you sit on your ass and not do anything, it's not going to work. Versus, say I do a money spell and I start advertising that my prices are changing and stuff like that. I'm showing the universe, yes, I want this, and I'm going to meet you halfway. Same thing with the job application. If you do a spell to find a job, and then you sit at home, you don't fill out any applications or anything like that. I create poppets from clay with powdered herb, polymer clay, and it's an amazing witchy tool. Yes, it is. I started using polymer clay. The only critique that I have with Dollar General's polymer clay is after you start working with it for a while, it gets very sticky. But I love it, and I consider polymer clay, it is slightly synthetic, but it still is made of the earth. Now, if you can get your hands on like real clay, oh hell yeah, do it. But that's what I was always taught when it comes to magical tools and stuff like that. It's going to be more powerful and it's going to have more of significant meaning if you were to make it and or forge it yourself. And then of course we have like resin. At one point in time, I did not understand how practitioners were using resin in their practice because I was like, it's synthetic. But I also learned and realized that even if it's synthetic, it still holds power and it still holds belief. But the biggest problem that we're seeing right now on social media is people are mixing manifestation and intentions together. And to me, they're two separate things. They may work the same, but they are different. And it does it stems from that new age spiritualist versus an actual practitioner or witch. Because yes, with that being said, and this is where it gets complicated, and this is why I call it magic theory. For one, are there people that are born with the natural ability to kind of just pick magic up and run with it? Yes. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that they're more powerful than another person at all. But with that being stated, a lot of people are wanting instant results and instant gratitude, and it doesn't work that way at all. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this example of like saying, yeah, could this absolutely fail completely? Yes. But also what I didn't tell people in the video is I'm basically putting my magic on a timeline, which I do not like at all, because magic, and I tell anybody who comes to me for magic, I tell them, look, magic is not 100% guaranteed. So I can do everything I'm doing. I'm going to be the conduit of that energy, but unless you do the footwork and unless it's actually like the cards are kind of spreading out the same, it may not work. And I've had spells not work. I've had spells completely blow up in my face. More recently, sometime last year, I did a spell because one of my cats were hurt and I was trying to figure out which neighbor it was. Literally wrote their names down on a coffee filter and burned it, as in neighbor like 1, 2, or 3, or I have my own nicknames for our neighbors. And I burned it on the porch. Within 5 minutes of that being completely burned, the crazy neighbor showed up. And that was when I almost like cussed her out. And I was like, well, she kind of cussed me out. Anyways, she showed up asking me if I would come up to her house and force my oldest cat, Stripes, or AKA Grandpa, in a cage so they could get it fixed. And I looked at her and I was like, for one, no, nobody's giving you permission to remove my animals from my property. For two, Stripes is one of the oldest cats we have, and if he sees a cage, he won't go near it because he knows what happens when he sees a cage. Normally we moved, and he hates it. And then she started screaming at me, disrespecting me, and then I politely, slightly looked at her and I said, get the fuck off my property, and if you don't, I will call the cops and have you trespassed. And now they don't talk to me or associate with me, and none of our cats have went missing, knock on wood, so far. But that was an instant result versus traditionally I tell people to wait a full moon cycle, basically 28 days. Because it can take 28 days to manifest this. Can we also make it a thing on social media that just because a person wants it doesn't mean it is what is best for them? That also causes spells to fail. Yes, exactly. And I am currently been dealing with this recently where I'm having people reach out to me and they're like, can I get an uncrossing? I think I'm cursed. I think I'm hexed. When in reality, they're not. They're just having a bad day. And with that, when somebody comes to me for a spell work, before I agree to anything, before exchange of money or items or anything like that's done, I have a detailed conversation of like, hey, I need to know as many details as you are comfortable enough giving me to actually see if you're hexed, to see if you're cursed, or to see if it's even feasible of what you're trying to do. And I've also noticed a huge rise of when a video on TikTok goes viral, a lot more people are wanting that same spell work. And like I had to turn who was it? I had to turn somebody down because no, I was helping them out with a cord cutting that they'd done. And they're like, it didn't really work. And I was like, okay, well, how did you do it? They were doing a cord cutting with 2 candles, but it represented that person and like 8 other people. And I'm like, that's not going to work unless you have 8 other candles to represent those people. And they're like, well, why not? And I'm like, you're trying to cut all of this energy using 2 candles. that's going to be confusing. So at that aspect, you don't know which cord was actually successfully cut versus which one just kind of melted down with the candle. Um, and then a lot of people are like, I recently got asked, which I've never thought of, could you use a cord cutting to cut a bad habit? I'd never even heard of that. And I was like, theoretically, yes, because I mean, you are cutting that connection to that. But this is also when, like, recently last year, I did my first ever quit smoking spell for somebody else. And I told him, I was like, look, this is experimental because I've never done anything like this. And normally I would not encourage people to mix these things with magic. Um, but I believe it successfully slightly worked. They contacted me shortly after that, and they're like, when you did that, did you just make it for nicotine or herbal stuff? And I was like, cord cutting doesn't work if you call the person the next day. Exactly, I'm gonna get into that too. But they're like, because we just got a new strand and like it tastes horrible. And I was like, I believe I specifically like worked only tobacco because I used 3 cigarettes that were burned at 3 different points to represent like the quitting stage. Um, and I was like, but if that doesn't change, please let me know. And I haven't gotten any response, so I'm assuming it worked. Or it is slowly working. But yes, what you said is 100% true. When you cut ties with somebody, and I tell people this too when they come to me for one, I'm like, look, you need to go ahead and block this person. You need to block the number. You need to cut physically in your life. You need to cut every single tie you possibly have with this person. Because if not, you're wasting money and you're wasting energy by burning candles, and then you contact them the following day. That doesn't work. You need to completely cut ties with that. But this also mixes the realm of what magic can do and what magic can't. If you want a placebo effect, then yes, magic can be really, really well. But like I've said before, I've probably tracked down almost every antidepressant spell I possibly could, and they never worked. Did I get like one high week? Yes, but it always came back because magic is more for the spiritual and the soul aspect. Medicine and therapy and herbal medicine is for the mind, for the mental, for the physical, because it's like, do I like modern medicine? Not that much. I cannot stand taking antibiotics unless I absolutely have to. And because of that, I knock on wood before I say this, I don't really get sick. Like last year, besides a common cold, the only thing I got was the norovirus, which is a very, very bad stomach virus. But my partner's had COVID twice. He had the flu and he's had walking pneumonia, and I've not got any of it. Knock on wood. And I don't take any medicine. I don't have any health insurance right now. So like I said, like the only time I'm going to an ER if I'm almost dying. Other than that, I have teas. If I got a sore throat, I have, or if I got a little itch in my throat, I've got cough drops with zinc in it. I've got elderberry dissolvable things. The vinegar that I make from goldenrod. I have local honey. So like I have the things that I use in my actual like health thing. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that are doing these things like anti-anxiety jar spells. I mean, if you want it to just bring that comfort to you, because most of all of my necklaces, that's my sign. If you're ever with me out in public and I start fidgeting with my necklaces, that means that I'm extremely like overstimulated or I'm on the verge of an anxiety attack. I feel mental health spells should be something that has to be worked every day, like a dish added to a shaker jar. Yes, exactly. But the work on the spicy psychology is actually magic. Yes, exactly. It has to be worked in. And it's almost like a resume with therapy. Like when you go to therapy, you don't just go in there one time and then boom, you're done. What is it? You're constantly doing it. It's the same. It's the same thing. But the problem is, and the reason I won't do any custom spells like that is because you also don't know where the other person's mental state is at. I've done a binding on somebody, an actual family member, and they actually like fully went psychotic. They had a psychotic episode and completely checked out and was arrested shortly after that. And that's what I tell people about like the cursing and the hexing and stuff like this. You need to think before you react, because even if you threw shit together, a completely faux spell, but you tag the person you're trying to do that in, you don't know what psychological damage that can do to a person. And that's something I'm learning to talk to customers with like, how do you politely tell somebody, no, I don't think anybody's hexed you. I think you're just hyper focusing on this. And I've done that before. I've done it to the fact where my partner has thrown water in my face just to kind of get me to snap out. Hello, because I do have anxiety disorders, and my anxiety disorders are tied in with my ADHD. So when I tell you I will spiral, I will spiral. I will hyper fixate on something and just repeat that over and over and over and over and over again in my head. And thus, what happens with that? I am focusing on the bad. I am focusing on the negative. So like, say for example, our power company, it's went up 4 times. Hello? But like they've jacked the price up, which everybody worldwide is currently doing this as well. And sometimes I freak out about it because I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Like, especially when my partner misses a day because of the holidays. Because I am not working, I'm disabled, so I cannot physically work. Um, so I'll start to hyper focus on it and then I'll stop. I'll give myself like 5 to 10 minutes to kind of freak out, let those emotions flow. Okay, I'm very confused of why. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's what I mean by, like, depending on how big the situation is or small, give yourself time to let those emotions flow. Let your anxiety run a million miles per hour just to get it out of you. And then after that, come together and be like, all right, what can I do? How can I fix this? And normally, I actually recently got my partner also saying this too. When an oh shit moment happens financially with us, we both look at each other and we're like, it's okay. Somehow, some way, we will find this. Thank you so much. I welcome and appreciate doing today. My name on my name on my name on my name on my name. Oh, well, hello. Um, but yes, exactly. You're focusing in on it. And I wouldn't say you're creating an egregore, but you are focusing in on it, and therefore you are drawing it to you. And that's what we don't want. So, like, I've had moments where we literally had nothing to eat. We had our power was about to be cut off, and within 2 to 3 days, miraculously, boom, I came together, pulled resources together, especially due to I've had multiple friends help me out, and they're like, just pass it along. And that's what I'm eventually going to do. When I get to a place financially to where if I see a post that's like, hi, I need this or I need this, I'm going to be able to send it. And that's what I would love. I would love to be able to create a account to where all the donates and stuff like that, they just sit there until somebody needs help and then we can pass it on. And especially nowadays, that's what a lot of people don't understand, because there was this huge debate with whether you sell your services or not. For one, me, I've not been doing this for just 1 to 2 years. I've been reading Oracle for about 5 to 6 years now. I've been selling them for about 2 years now. Um, and at the end of the day, am I thriving? No. At the end of the day, am I surviving? Yes. Because with my prices, I know all I have to do is get 2 to 3 readings and boom, that's gas for the car. That's extra power. That's money on the power bill. Or for me to get my medicine. And other than that, all the other money goes into buying books, buying oils, buying candles, buying herbs. So I can reciprocate that through the community. And financially, once things get a little bit better, I will be going back to the original, what I started, which was the Witch's Trade. I have an Amazon wish list of all things, mostly books, that are still in the price range of my actual spell prices and or reading prices. So a lot of the times, instead of exchanging money, if somebody's more comfortable, they'll just buy something from the wish list and send it out, and then I talk about it on here. Like last week, I stopped at a Dollar General, and they had like the emergency candles that I use. I stocked up on them because they're I think they're like $2 a box. I feel like charging them for cover supplies and such is little for yourself is great. However, charging $200. Yeah, no. I agree with that. My prices right now, which will slightly go up on the 17th, but still affordable. $10 for $10, you get $15, you get 10 card pull, or AKA 2 questions. And then for $25, which is a full reading, you get 6 questions. And I do that via email or messenger. And then my spell work, anywhere from 15 up to 100. Now the 100, which I've actually only gotten once because it was 2 honey jars or sweetening jars, and that's just because honey is expensive. And then I have a life path reading for 25. I've got a lover's reading. I don't remember the price on that, but all of mine's affordable. Versus, like you said, there are some people, I know people that will charge $25 per 10 minutes during a reading. And you do you, boo. But in a society right now where everything around us is going up, that's not feasible. And a lot of these scammers that you'll see, you'll click on their websites and they're charging you $400 to do a love spell. That's like the oxymoron of charging somebody $100 to do a money spell. That doesn't work. And most of my spells, especially like the cord cutting ceremony, is $35. An uncrossing is $35. The most expensive magic that I do charge is for baneful magic. And the only reason that is because I have a house, I have cats, I have a partner who's extremely sensitive to baneful workings. But I also, it's a higher risk of me doing that because, especially if it's on another practitioner, most of the time I don't actually know and I don't ask. But if it's on another practitioner, I have to think as a practitioner myself, what would their rewards be? Am I going to get bitch slapped with a kind of a recoil in it, if you will? And these are things that all practitioners need to think of before you go to hex somebody, because yeah, you may see this person as like this shy, quiet, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, but you don't know what they have on the other end. And that's also another way that I give back to the community is through the community candle jar. I mean, the community candle, that's free, and then I have the honey, the sweetening jar, or the road opening ceremony that I had for this year. And again, it's $5 per partition versus somebody spending $25, $30 per partition. But it's just a way to survive. Not to mention, before money is exchanged with the reading and or any type of spell work, I have a consultation with somebody. I will sit down and be like, all right, what are we trying to do here? And then, like, I've turned plenty of people away. I'm like, nope, I won't do this. I have 2 people that if it is a baneful working that I will not do, I send it to them. And I also love that because it's working word of mouth. Like, if I don't know something and or if somebody brings a question to me, I'll try to send it to somebody else who knows a hell of a lot more versus what I know. And it's just it's what our community should be. We should be passing each other on of like, you know, hey, I don't do this, but I know this practitioner that does that working. And that's what we need to, and that's what I'm trying to create, especially with Lotus Hollow, the Discord, and all of that. Like the Discord, people ask questions all the time, and it's cool because instead of just getting something from me, you're getting something from other practitioners that do different things, all coming together in a collective group, and we're all here to help each other out. And I love it so much. And then I also tell people that when they get an oracle reading from me, it is not set in stone. And the number one thing I cannot stand, and I am not this type of practitioner, please do not come to me asking me a question if I should choose, or if you should choose yes or no. Like, should you stay with this person? That's not up for me to decide, and my cards are not going to tell you that either. And I've had multiple people try to get like slightly irritated with that, and I'm like, look, for one, I do oracle readings. For two, I'm not going to tell you to leave your relationship of 25 years. I'm sorry, that's on you. And a lot of the times, it's funny too, because it's like their own reflection, because a lot of the times when people ask those questions, they already know the answer deep down inside. They just don't want to admit it. And then the cards will validate that. And then after that, if you ever come to me, I'm like, you know, leave me a review, if you will, on my Facebook page, and or make a video about me, because it's word of mouth. Which I've got to, like, with my TikToks, I've got to kind of change the way that I'm going about it, because I made a video last night that was taken down for harassing and bullying. And it was all about Trisha Paytas and how much hypocrite people are being right now. don't use this, don't do that. Boom, they're doing it anyways. Um, but there are also different types of spells, and it's also a lot of people are saying, like, I had somebody recently come to me for an uncrossing, and I'm like, you don't need an uncrossing. And they're like, well, yeah, I do. And I'm like, what's an uncrossing? They did not tell me. They could not tell me. And I'm like, an uncrossing is if you've been jinxed or hexed, because it uncrosses those situations. Now, an uncrossing can be used in situations versus an actual person, due to like a road opener can. A road opener, kind of the same thing as an uncrossing, because the uncrossing will uncross what has been crossed, and then a road opener will basically blow that bitch open to where there are no obstacles in your way. But at the same time, if you were to do one and then create more obstacles, that's the reason your magic's not working. Or a lot of people, like I said, they're expecting instant results. So if a newer practitioner comes along and does a spell and they're expecting results like that, and it doesn't happen, they're either A, going to walk away and say it's fake, or B, they're going to set up doubt. And once you set up doubt in your practice, you basically just stop from there, because you're going to have to rebuild your confidence up in it. And that's something a lot of people don't talk about. You need to have confidence in your craft. There's a reason most books, when you are opening a circle, or when you're casting a circle, when you are talking to deities, when you are summoning the watchtowers, when you are banishing negative energy out of your property, you have to be the authoritating figure. Now, what I mean by that is you're not challenging the deities, but you have to sound like you know what the fuck you're doing and you are confident in what you're doing. And if not, like, if you do have a negative entity in your house and you're just like, go away, please. No. You just be like, get the fuck out. This is my house. Get out. Normally that works 10 times better. And like I said, the spell that I'm doing right now, I don't know it works because I don't know if it will work. I'm hoping it will, just so I can prove that, it's more than this. But I'm also setting a date to it. I'm setting an expiration date that's more than 24 hours, or technically less than 24 hours. So it may not work. And then if it doesn't work, I know that I'm going to have a certain people, and they're like, well, that shows you how much his magic works. No, it does not. I'm using this as an experiment. I'm extremely excited about it as well. And then I'm also extremely excited because I had one of my good followers hit me up, and I'm being sent a couple of books for Infernals, basically demons. So I'm extremely excited about that because I have a few like PDF copies on my phone, but I'm that type of ADHD person to where if something goes into my phone, unless I set a reminder, it's just lost. It will stay there. Versus actually having a hard copy book that I can see, touch, smell, and actually like look at. But at the end of the day, when it comes to people, and this is somebody pointed this out in a comment, and it's what I've been screaming. There is a reason the term witchcraft ends in craft. That was the video actually that got me that got the community guideline strike. They said that I was bullying, harassed, and I'm like, there's a reason it's called a practice, because you have to practice to get better, versus I'm setting my intentions to get $100 today. I can set my intentions to become a millionaire too, but is that going to work? I don't know. Probably not. Which I wouldn't want to be a millionaire. I never want to do that. Also, there's another money trick. Not really a trick. Not even a hack. When doing money magic, never ask to become rich. What I normally do is I'll ask slightly above the amount that I need or slightly below the amount that I need. Because if you're setting yourself up for an unrealistic, oh my God, my brain, what is the word that I'm trying to term? Goal, there we go. An unrealistic goal, it's not going to happen. That would be like me doing a spell, setting my intentions that $1,000 is just going to fall out of the sky. It's not going to happen. But if I were to set my intentions that I would randomly find $5 or $10, if I were to actually leave my house, there's a very high chance that I would randomly stumble across $5 or $10. I mean, there was one time earlier last year, and it was a blessing, and I still have no idea who the person was. Somebody randomly sent me a good amount on my Cash App and was like, this is for last spring. When I tell you I spent 3.5 hours looking through every comment, every message on all of my platforms to figure out who it was, and I still to this day cannot, I have no idea who did it. No idea. Was it a blessing? Yes, because it prevented a lot of things going south. It prevented that. Um, like currently right now, I did a spell yesterday. I did the cord cutting, but I also did a spell for my father-in-law, and so far it's working great. His wife has COVID. He hopefully does not, but he's having to stay there versus coming over here because he risks a chance of getting my partner sick. Um, which we don't want that because he's already gotten it twice. Um, and that's what I think my next community candle is going to be. I'm probably gonna do it, and I'm gonna do two. I want to do one and then another one that I've done almost every February, which is a love candle, but not like a relationship, self-love and self-acceptance. I love that. The only one that I kind of joke about is because, and if you've been following me for a while, you already know this and you've probably seen it on here. In 2019, I did my first community candle, which was the golden candle. It was painted gold. It had gold flakes in it, obviously fake gold flakes. It had glitter, and I actually burned it live through into the new year, and then 2020 went to shit. But the cool thing is with that candle is I had somebody message me shortly after that, and they're like, what would your spell what would your spell candle do? And I'm like, wait, why? They got put in the hospital because they got really, really sick. And instead of taking that as, oh my God, I caused it, they looked and they're like, wait, what the candle represented, this makes sense because it was like my body was detoxing and getting all of the nasty shit out. And I said, exactly, that is how magic works. Magic is not all pretty. It can be pretty, it can be powerful, it can be so awe-inspiring that you cry. But at the same time, no matter how gifted you are as a practitioner, you never know how a spell is going to work. A lot of the times I was warned, don't do money spells because you never know when you're going to randomly get an inheritance, aka somebody's going to pass away in your family and you're going to be inherited that. Um, and yes, it could happen, but as long as you go about the entire process of clearly thinking, okay, this is how I want this money to come in at versus I just need the money, boom. Um, and money magic and love magic are two of the most popular things, but they can also be the most dangerous things. Like I saw a video that was like, put some of your moon blood in his food and cook it. Do realize that's a federal felony in every state in the United States, right? Messing with somebody's food or putting blood in somebody's food or bodily fluids without them knowing it and then them eating it, that will land you in prison if they find out about it. Now, is that an actual yes? Yes, 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 yes. A lot of people have done it, but there are easier ways than doing shit like that. Honestly, why would you want to bind yourself to somebody? And I learned this the hard way because I did multiple times. No, not binding myself to people, but when I was single and younger, I would do love spells not to make somebody fall in love with me, but to set the universe up to send me my next partner. And let me tell you, this is the only relationship I did not do a love spell in, and holy shit, we're still here. Now, I do have a love spell that I do for clients, which is called Respark the Spark, and it's for people that have been in a long, long relationship that kind of just needs that spiciness brought back to them. And it works. It works very, very well. And it was a spell. I'm trying to think if me and my ex created it or if I created it. I don't know. It's in one of my OG. It's in my OG grimoire, Book of Shadows. But it works very, very well, and I've done it with me and my partner multiple times. And that's also something that people need to know about love. And this is platonic relationship love. Yes, when you get together, it's wildfires, it's fucking fantastic, it's the World Fair, and then what happens? It kind of like everything burns down. So that fire doesn't go out. What's happening is it's burning down into these emeralds, these embers. And these embers, all it takes is the special spot for that wind to blow, and those little sparks are going to go back into a blazing fire. So always remember that, please. But yeah, like, there are love spells that you can do that are not harmful. But I don't agree with the domination spells, and that's perfectly okay if y'all do them. That's on y'all. I just personally don't. Um, but there are love spells that you can rework to where instead of finding your perfect mate, find the next person who's coming along in your story. But never try to bind yourself to someone else, because a lot of the times that never works out right, because what winds up happening is something happens and you split up, and these are the people that are getting cord cutting ceremonies. It's because you're bound together. Like, one of me and my exes, who we were together 5 years, we were talking about different not cord cutting, um basically hand fastenings. There's actually a hand fastening that is set up for you're married for a year and a day, right? So no matter what happens in that year and a day, y'all have to stay together. And then on the anniversary of that, that's when you come together and either A, go ahead and have it official and go ahead and do that, or separate ways. And I think a lot of people need to do that in a relationship. Is if you can live with somebody for a year and a day and work through those problems, there's going to be issues. Me and my partner had issues. Our biggest issues were communication. He didn't know how to properly communicate to me, and I didn't know how to properly communicate back to him in the way that he was raised versus the way that I was raised. And we bumped heads multiple times, and all of a sudden one day it clicked. It clicked that a lot of the times we were saying the exact same thing in different ways. And now, do we still have heated debates when we get stressed? Yes, but now we both understand our breaking points. So before it even gets to that, we'll walk back out. Like, I'll walk out the front door, he'll go back there, and then 5 to 10 minutes goes by, we let each other cool off, and we come back and we talk. And it works for us. Communication is key in a relationship. Communication and trust. Without both of those, you don't have a relationship. Not that I'm an expert. Trust me on that. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today, because I have to get some food in my stomach. The coffee, I've had like 4 cups of coffee since 7 o'clock this morning. But yeah, I also, if you haven't already, there's actually a video of the cord cutting ceremony up. The reason that is because I couldn't create a short in it. But I'm also thinking about explaining the cord cuttings, and I know I still have to do the retribution spell video. Retribution spell. There we go. Retribution spell. There were 2 other videos that I need to make very, very soon. Anyways, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for today. I don't know if I'm going to go live tomorrow. I've still got to talk with my friend Kat to see if I'll be going live there. But if I do go live on TikTok, it'll be around 6 versus now. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for now. I'm mentally going over everything that I wanted to talk about to make sure I didn't miss anything out. But yeah, that's going to be it. And like I said, thank y'all all for viewing, watching, commenting, sharing. And yeah, I will be doing these Monday through Thursday every day. If not, I'll either, obviously I'm going to post if I don't do it on my TikTok, but I post it on my Facebook page. Also, I want to ask, if anybody runs a business outside of Etsy, what are some great websites to use as booking? Because I want to get away from Facebook, as much as that saddens to say. I eventually need to get away from it. But yeah, let me know. But anyways, I hope you're all having a magical, magical day. Today is a magical day because it is the 1/1 portal, 1/11 portal. And then the 17th, we have the full moon, which is the wolf moon. And then I think right before that or right after that, Mercury retrograde goes into effect. So until then, I love you all. You're all welcome. You're all welcomed here, and you're all loved. And yeah, until then, I will see y'all later. Peace.